Hey everyone, Wags here from Eagle Dynamics. In this DCS F-16C Viper video, we'll discuss JDAMs for the Viper. Our F-16 will be able to deploy the 2000 class GBU-31 version 1B, the Penetrator 3B version, and the 500-pound class GBU-38. All JDAM types can be mounted on stations 3 and 7. Some of the biggest advantages of JDAMs compared to laser-guided bombs is that they are fire-forget and they can be employed when the target is masked by weather. Let's get started. Alrighty, so welcome to Western Cyprus at Paphos Airfield. This is a combination of civil and military. And on our jet today, we have 4 GBU-38s loaded on 2 Baru 57 smart racks. And given this loadout, we'll need to make sure we're in a Cat 3 configuration. Nose wheel steering on, and let's taxi out to the active. And once we get airborne, we'll go to the JDAMs MIS page and we'll set up the weapon there. Actually, I think it's the first time I've done a video with the Greek skin, which is actually one of my favorite skins out there for the Viper. Okay, no one on final. You can see some of the hardened aircraft bunkers back there. Okay, pointy and down the runway. Let's get going. You're coming up. Okay, 350 out of gate. Take a look at some of the sites. That looks like fun. Some nice beach resorts. Archaeological site up there. Shopping mall. That looks like a fun place to hang out. Anyway, enough jibber jabber. Let's get ourselves pointed north, or at least roughly so. Okay, set ourselves to about 5 degrees pitch, and we'll set attitude to control. And at this point, let's zoom into the cockpit, in particular the right DDI. Let's go air to ground master mode. And here we have the JDAMs MIS page. As you might imagine, we're in air to ground mode, and we have 2 delivery modes for JDAMs, both the 38 and the 31. We have pre-planned as well as visual, or VIS. Then we go to our inventory page. We see that we have 2 fuel tanks, 4 total GBU-38s on Baru 57s, 2 AIM-9Xs, and 2 AIM-120s. Coming back out, again, we see we have 4 GBU-38s here. Let's go ahead and power these bad boys on. And we have the ability to create 4 different profiles. Right now we're on profile 1, then we can go to 2, 3, 4, back to 1. And each profile has the characteristics here in the center, and to modify those, we will go to the control page. So again, we have the ability to cycle through our profiles. We'll modify profile 1. And the first one we have here is our arming delay. And this could range anywhere from 4 to 25 seconds. And this determines the time it takes the weapon to arm once it comes off the jet. So repeated presence of the OSB will cycle through. Let's go 7 seconds. There we go. Then coming down, we have our function option. Right now we're in air, and this would allow you to do an airburst if you had a DSU-33 fuse on board, which we don't right now, hopefully someday in the future. Let's go next to our ground, and if we have ground and we have a joint programmable fuse or a JPS fuse, then we have our function delay, and this can go anywhere from, as you can see, 0 seconds up to 24. If we go one more, we have our ground delay, and then rather than milliseconds, it goes to actually hours, anywhere from 0.25 hours up to 24 hours, almost like a mine at that point. Let's go back to air. We'll keep it there. Here, this actually started at 10, and this is our alignment. So at 10, it's going to be an unsatisfactory, and it'll go all the way down to 1 for a good alignment, and then past 1, it'll actually go to already an RDY. Over to the right, we have our impact angle, which I just imagine goes from 0 to 90 degrees. So right now it's 60 degrees. We're going to go say a nice 45 degree. We'll go 4, 5, and enter. And we have a 45 degree impact angle. Then we have impact azimuth, and that can go between 0 and 360 degrees. And then our impact velocity is determination of our minimum velocity in feet per second. We want that impact to hit the ground. Coming back out. Here in the bottom, it indicates the selected weapon station we have ready to go. So we can put JDAMs on 3 and 7. Right now we have 3 active. Coming over, let's bring up our TGP. We're going to be using that a little bit later. And now we got a bit of a fly out across the strait to the target area, and let's take this opportunity to talk a little bit about the F-16 in general. So as most of you are probably well aware, we've had 2 teams working on the Viper and the Hornet for a while now. A much larger team working on the Hornet, mainly so we can get this product once and for all out of early access, feature complete. And the big items remain on that, of course, are the ACLS and the approach mode for ATC. Certainly there's some bugs and tweaks we'll be doing also, but those are the big ones. And in parallel, we had 3 folks working on the Viper. But now that the Hornet, it's nearing its feature completion state, we've now moved a lot of the program resources from the Hornet onto the Viper, essentially flip-flop the manpowers on those 2 different teams to speed up Viper development. And the next weapon for the Viper after JDAM will be the JSOW and a few other features too. But the big push is going to be on fixing bugs and tuning features and just generally improving the state of the current build of the Viper before we start adding a lot of new features. It's very important we have a very good foundation moving forward. And I sincerely hope that's going to be welcome news to a lot of those F-16 pilots out there. Anyhow, let's go ahead and skip ahead to the target area. Okay, so welcome back. You can see here I am on altitude hold and also steering select to my steer point, which is up here ahead of us. Is also the target location. On the right MPD, I really don't need the SMIS page anymore because everything is set up. So I'm going to transfer this to the HSD. And we can see the sensor point of interest, the SPI ahead of me, which is going to mark a couple of villainous C-130s on the ramp. Now we don't need it, but I'm going to have the targeting pod take a look so we can do some real-time battle damage assessment, or BDA. But of course with the JDAM, one of the great advantages is we could drop right through a cloud and don't need any targeting pod to be looking at that target, of course. So let's go narrow. I'm going to go black hot. Let's go to a manual gain control. Zoom in. Let's go with this guy here. That's good. And usually I do is I put the targeting point, the SPI, right at the base of the target. TMS forward, long up, point track in SPI. That's all set. So up here on the HUD, we have our launch zone. Top is 20 miles. Top of the staple is our maximum launch range. Bottom staple is our minimum. At the bottom of the data block is our current range target, 17 miles, and the heading to the target. Naturally, just like a Hornet, I'm going to fly to keep the flight path marker on the azimuth steering line, the ASL. Make sure we disable steering select. Don't need that anymore. And you'll see here at the along the ASL we have a little horizontal bar. That's going to be our release cue. And as we get closer, it's going to start marching down the ASL. And once it intersects the flight path marker, the FPM, I'll go ahead and hold down the weapon release button, and the JDAM will come off the jet. Also going to see we're in pre-plan mode. Here comes the release cue. Okay, button down and release. At this point, I'm going to chop back on the speed. And my biggest concern right now is keeping a good line of sight on that target. So I'm going to keep the altitude hold on, just make my life a little bit easier. And I'm going to come off to the left, then go straight, and then establish a nice orbit around the target, looking down to the right for the targeting pod to have a nice good look at it. Keep my speed around 350 or so. Okay, straighten out. And we should see the airfield below us now. There it is. Start orbiting above it. And it looks like we're going to have a cloud in the way of the TGP here. Yep. In the bottom corner, we can see our timed impact, 13 seconds. Boom. So as you can see, using the pre-planned is fairly simple and actually a lot like the Hornet for those that are familiar with that. So of course the Viper does not trim and roll, so once you have that weapon release, you're going to have to probably retrim just a little bit and roll. There we go. So the next mode we can take a look at is visible mode. So we'll go back to the SMIS, we'll go visual, and we can see a little diamond up here on the top that indicates that the HUD is now our sensor of interest, or SOI, and we can use the TDC to move this around. And we can use this to designate our next speed. So let's get rid of altitude hold. And with this, we can move it around, team us forward, and we made a new destination point for that. Pretty straightforward. So folks, that's a little look at using the JDAM for the F-16 coming up and a very near update. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.